And welcome to the April 11th meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the town of Zionsville. Our first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll ask the audience to join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is attendance. Mr. Day, would you
Yes.
call the roll?
Mr. Mundy,
Present.
Ms. Postlewaite,
Present.
Mr. Pickle,
Present.
Hill, excuse me, Mr. Jones,
Present.
Mr. Lake.
Present.
Very good. Next item is the approval of the March 1st, 2023 minutes. Those were included in your packet. Are there any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Postlewaite. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. They are approved. Thank you. We do have, I'm going to skip ahead from continued business to the first item there. We have had a request that docket number 2023-05-DSV cleaner at 10663 Barrington Way in Zionsville be continued to the May meeting. The request was not made in time to make it automatic, so we will need a motion to continue that. If there are any questions, I think the representative for that petition is here and could answer those if there are questions.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Postlewaite. All in favor of continuing docket number 2023-05-DSV, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It is continued. That will be at the May 3rd meeting. Now, on to continued business, the first item on the docket is, let me check to make sure do we have anyone virtually who have, no, okay, if we have, and if any wish to speak, would you just let me know? Under continued business, we have docket number 2022-71-DSV M. Lohmeyer at 880 Starkey Road, Zionsville. This is a petition that was continued from March 1st BZA meeting due to untimely publication of notice. Petition is for development standard variance to provide for a detached garage which deviates from the side yard setbacks, deviates from the rear yard setback, deviates from the residential accessory building height in the urban open land zoning district 01. Mr. Lohmeyer.
Hello, good evening. Yes, I'm Matt Lohmeyer. I live at 880 Starkey Road. And as you said, I'm here for a couple of, or actually 3 variances this evening.
Mr. Lohmeyer,
Yes.
could I interrupt? I'm sorry.
You sure can.
We changed the order in which we heard petitions. And this is just the second time, so I hope I can be forgiven for that. But we actually are asking for the staff report first
Okay.
and not the petitioner's report. So you will have your day at the.
That's the politest way I've ever been asked to be quiet.
Well, so I'm glad I suddenly realized that before you got very far. So I'm going to ask staff to give the report on that, please. And staff, you're well thought of. It's just my old age.
Some of you may remember, I think Mr. Lohmeyer's been before the board a few times within the past couple of years. In 2020, he was replacing and expanding an existing garage, which deviated from the side yard setbacks and the lot coverage. And then in 2021, a new patio and pool, which deviated from the lot coverage and side yard setbacks. Within that petition, he also got a 20% lot coverage approval, kind of blanketed with the property that would continue on. So he possibly wouldn't have, maybe not have to come back to the BZA, which the lot coverage for urban open land is typically 10%. The current request today, the petitioner is requesting to construct a detached garage on the northwest corner of the property, which will not meet the 50-yard side yard setbacks, proposing to be 22 and 34 feet, and then also doesn't meet the 25-foot setback, proposing to be 8 feet. It also will exceed the height of the residential accessory building height requirement of 22 feet. Based on the restrictiveness of the urban open land zoning district and their development standards, there are also other adjacent urban open land zoning designations that deviate from similar type standards. And given the size of the lot, the adjacent land uses and adjacent zoning district, staff is favorable of all the requests, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, Mr. Lohmeyer will ask you to return to the podium. And if you would state your name and address for the record.
I
please.
forgot everything I said before. I'm Matt Lohmeyer. We reside at 880 Starkey Road. And then Suzanne took all the rest of mine.
You've heard the staff report. If you would like to illuminate any of that for us or elaborate on any of that for us.
No, I think, it dawned on me this morning that, when we're talking about hardships, the size, shape of the lot and the configuration, meaning the topography, are what kind of dictate where the garage needs to go on the property. And fortunately, it sits down because we're asking for a height variance as well for maximum height allowed. We're putting it actually in a hole. So we're kind of disguising some of the height of the building with where it's going to go. But it dawned on me this morning to take some pictures, and I didn't realize the technology that we have available, but I do have some pictures of my house and lot, and happy to share those with the board if you guys would like to see them.
You want to? If
I've driven by it now 3 times, I think, for the sake of
Okay.
looking.
Sure.
But including today, but would members of the board like to see the photographs that he has?
I would. If they're readily available on.
And these are sample copies. I'm sorry. So
All right.
if you have any questions about those.
Okay, so you submitted these to the board, so the board's going to keep these. Okay.
I can take.
How many copies are here?
So in a late addition to our packets, we received some information from a neighbor who had some concerns about construction last time around and stormwater drainage. It appears, based on a response from Lance, that all that seems to be kind of covered and taken care of, and or not the homeowner's fault. Is that correct?
And I have a question. I'm curious. You have 2 dog kennels in this building. Are these family pets? Are they hunting dogs?
They're family pets. And I guess to further that, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson are here. They're our neighbors to kind of the further west and a little bit north of us, but they, at their request, we're actually moving those to the opposite end of the building. So it reconfigures the footprint of the building inside. Doesn't materially change anything for the exterior of the building, but we're moving them to the east end of the building as opposed to the west, and which is kind of nice. It gets them closer to us in the house, and our dogs are in the house with us. They stay out there if we're gone for an extended period of time or whatever. It gives them the opportunity to kind of have shelter and then go in and out, as they please. So.
I'll ask further to Mr. Lake's point, the remonstrator letter, we got one of the items was equipment being used. I think it was a matter of noise from the equipment being used either before or after the allotted time is. So I guess that primarily has been a contractor, I assume, unless you're doing.
No, unfortunately, it was me.
Okay.
My only excuse or reason is, trying to keep up with everything else going on and trying to complete the project in the season that we have in Indiana, which is summertime. There were a couple of Sundays, probably more than two, that we saw Zionsville police officers on 2 occasions, but there were probably a few more than that we didn't really have many options given time constraints that we were under. Try to get the retaining walls, which you see in the pictures, built. So this barn, building, garage, whatever we're going to call it, is being built by a contractor, not by me. So we won't have Sunday work during this one.
Well, this is proof that people do notice things like that.
So I know.
Are there any questions for Mr. Lohmeyer?
So when you flip the floor plan, then are you going to shift the drive further west? Is that the plan?
The garage door will shift to the west, which means I'm going to have a little bit of an angle coming in, but I think I've got enough distance away from where the fence is that I can leave the opening in the fence the way it is and then kind of make my way into the garage through an approach.
Just a question, this existing small building that I'm seeing in this photo, is that going to be demolished or is that staying? I'm trying to orient myself here based on these photos.
Yeah, it's not going to be demolished. We're actually going to move it because I don't like to waste things. So we're going to move it and then but the new garage goes generally where that building is, yes.
And am I right in my memory serving me appropriately that there's a office area included in this or no?
No, there's not.
It's purely a garage for storage of automobiles and other equipment.
Yep.
No plumbing in the building?
I think where you get that is the section cut.
Yeah.
Says storage office.
Yeah.
Up in the upper level
I know.
is where you saw that at.
Well, thank you for making me feel so.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Imagining things.
I don't think there's going to be anything like that out there. I've got an office that I get to look over at the sewage treatment plant most of the time. So most of the time I don't know it's there.
There are no further questions. Are there any remonstrators to either support or oppose this project that are here? None online? Okay. All right. Any further discussion among the board? Is there a motion on these petitions?
All right, so for variance 1, I move that docket number 2022-71 DSV Development Standards Variance to provide for a deviation of side yard setbacks of 22 foot and 34 foot for the construction of a detached garage for the property located at 880 Starkey Road in the Urban Open Land Zoning District O-1 be approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted findings of fact, and substantial compliance with the submitted site plans.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Postaway. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Okay, variance number 2, I move that docket number 2022-71 DSV Development Standards Variance to provide for a deviation of the rear yard setback of 8 feet for the construction of a detached garage for the property located at 880 Starkey Road in the Urban Open Land Zoning District O1 be approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted findings of fact, and substantial compliance with the submitted site plans.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Postaway. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
And variance number 3, I move that docket number 2022-71 DSV Development Standards Variance to provide for a residential accessory building to exceed the maximum height up to 24 foot 10 inches for the construction of a detached garage for the property located at 880 Starkey Road in the Urban Open Land Zoning District 01 be approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted finding of fact, and substantial compliance with the submitted site plans.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Postawait. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Good luck, Mr. Lomar, with your project.
Thank you all very much.
The next item on the agenda is docket number 2023-06 DSV Devonshire Development by Pulte Homes at 8666 East, 400 South in Zionsville. Petition for development standard variance to provide for an increase of sign square footage for monument signs at 2 subdivision entryways in the rural single and 2 family residential zoning district R2. Staff, could we have your report, please?
The Devonshire subdivision is approximately 68 acres, proposed total of 106 single-family homes. Previously, you may recall the BZA approved a development standards variance for the reduction of the front yard setback to 25 feet. The petitioner is now proposing 2 entry signs at both the entrance off of 400 South and 875 East. Each entry will have 2 monument signs on either side of the road, which will be 5 feet, and proposing to have signage of approximately 24.9 square feet. Per the rural R2 zoning district allows for a maximum sign size of 6 square feet. Most likely the rural jurisdiction didn't consider subdivision signs. There are many subdivisions in the area such as Hampshire, Ashburn, Pemberton that are zoned urban RSF2, which those allow for a maximum sign square footage of 24 square feet. The scale of the proposed signs seem appropriate given the surrounding built environment along with the other similar sized signs in the area. So staff is favorable of the request and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions for staff? Hearing none. Do we have the representative, please?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Matt Price, here tonight on behalf of Pulte Homes. Suzanne did an excellent job of giving you a summary. What happened procedurally on this signage question is that what you see before you is actually the signage package that was approved as part of the development plan for the project when it was taken through for platting and development plan approval. When we applied for permits to actually construct the signs, we discovered that both the height of the sign and the area of the sign face exceeded the R2 standard. That wasn't discovered until post approval. And so we filed that variance to correct that situation with the assistance of staff. And we did 2 things. One is we reduced the height of the sign to be compliant. So we're not here seeking any relief with regard to the height of the sign, but we are seeking relief in order to maintain the face area for the signs. And I had just a brief presentation to show you where they are. Yeah, so we have 2 entryways, one on County Road 400, one on 875. The 875 one is kind of in the upper right. That's the first section of the project that's being developed. With staff's recommendation, we went ahead and applied for relief to build the section 2 signs as well once those are once that phase of the development is moving forward. In the next slide. This is the sign design itself. It's a masonry brick columns, which are just under 5 feet with a cedar plank connecting the outside columns with the inside columns. And then we have kind of an enlarged picture of the Devonshire script itself, which is the what the variance relates to, which is I've looked at the sign diagrams in our plans and measured it myself just on the sign face. It's something around 2.3 feet high and around 8 feet 9 inches long, and fits just inside our sign monumentation. And so that's the sign area that we're seeking the variance for. Like Suzanne mentioned, it's very similar to the size signage that you see for other surrounding subdivisions with Pemberton and Cobblestone, Ashburn, and other signs that you see all around town for entryway signage for subdivisions. The table in the ordinance that we're seeking the variance from speaks in terms of residential identification signs. It's very unclear that was meant to encompass major subdivision entryways. And so it's been applied that way. And so we've sought a variance. I know maybe 2 or 3 months ago, Fisher Homes did as well. I think they had a sign area as well as some height with regard to their sign, but it's very similar variance to that as far as the nature of the relief that we're seeking. Happy to answer questions that you have about the proposal and appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Any question for the petitioner's representative? Is there anyone here to remonstrate for or against this petition? Anyone online? No. All right. Yeah. There was one puzzling point in the petition where it appears there were 2 different sign sizes.
Right.
Yet it also was confusing because it said both signs, both locations. So is there an explanation for that? And
Yeah.
if the 24.9 is the final number?
That's my final offer. No, I spoke to Suzanne about that actually before the hearing, and what I've decided to do is stick with the number in our actual petition. And I'll tell you what it is when I measure the sign face, I think the sign face, the way that term is defined under the ordinance, which means the smallest area that encompasses the lettering is actually smaller than that. But what I didn't want to get caught in was that I measure it one way and the permitting office measures it a little bit differently, and I'm a square foot short, one way or the other. So I think if you take the absolute maximum of our sign face and take the height times the width, you get to the number in our application, but it's actually larger than the script of the sign itself. So that's the discrepancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that I know that was meant to clarify, but in my case, it didn't. And so I'm
Okay.
going to do a follow-up here.
Sure.
So the total length of that entire entryway with the 4 pillars and the cedar and so on is what exactly? When you're talking about 24.9, you're talking about
You
that
don't-
innermost section where the Devonshire is written.
That's the only part that's
That's right.
Sign face. Okay, and the rest of it can be,
Correct.
fencing, it's decorative entry elements, but it's not considered signage.
sort of like part of the landscaping and not part of the sign. Okay, that
Yeah.
answers. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Thanks.
But I think the challenge that Mr. Price was pointing out is if you measure from brick column to brick column where the Devonshire sign is, and from the top
Right.
line of the sign that you see to the bottom line of the sign, you're going to get 24.9. That's not really how you measure the sign, but to be safe in case somebody wants to say, hey, you didn't meet your requirement, he's being safe.
Okay, thank you.
Better to be over than under.
Yes, sir.
Right. Is there any further discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there a motion on this petition?
I guess I'll get it. I move that docket number 2023-06 DSV Development Standards Variance to provide for an increased size square footage of the entry monument signs at the property located at 8666 East 400 South, Zionsville, rural single and 2-family residential zoning district R2, be approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted finding of fact and substantial compliance with the submitted site plans.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Best of luck. Next item on the agenda is docket number 2023-07-DSV. Gruber's Legacy LLC at 8280 East 250 South, Zionsville. Petition for development standard variance to provide for accessory structures which exceed the permitted accessory square footage in the rural single-family residential zoning district R1. We have the staff report, please.
Thank you. The petitioner is proposing to construct a 720 square foot carport and a 240 square foot addition to one of the existing barns on the property. The added accessory square footage will be over the permitted primary square footage, thus not being subordinate to the primaries. The size of the residence is 2,178. In the proposed additions, there's actually, I made an error in the staff report, and it will be 3,397 square feet would be the total accessory square footage, if approved. Due to the residential history of the property and deviations from this requirement surrounding properties, staff is favorable of the request, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Hearing none, the petitioner's representative wish to enlighten us further.
Yes, again, for the record, Matt Price on behalf of Gruber's Legacy. We have a representative of the company here today as well. His name is Will Maltby, sitting in the back. Will purchased this property, I believe, back in July, I'm sorry, last year. It's on the north side of County Road 250. It's a bit of a fixer-upper, if you will. Will is very handy with craftsmanship and woodworking, repurposes older building materials to finish exterior and interior of homes, and is making several improvements to this property. It's just under 3 acres in size, and what he's seeking to do is to add essentially a hobby workshop of 240 square feet, excuse me, and a carport of 720 square feet, which will be kind of centrally located and closer to the dwelling itself than either one of the other existing structures, including the barn. As Suzanne mentioned, the total by which the square footage exceeds the 2178 of the dwelling, my calculation is that it's 1,218 square feet in total. So he adds 960 onto a small discrepancy today. He has a little more accessory on the property today than what's strictly permitted. But this would allow some improved functionality with the property. It's a very reasonable deviation in comparison to other similarly situated R1 properties in the area. And Will and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have about his plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Any questions for the petitioner's representative? Anyone here or online wishing to speak for or against this project? Okay. Any further discussion among the board? If not, is there a motion on the petition?
Sure. I move the docket 2023-07-DSV development standards variance to provide for an accessory structure which exceeds the permitted accessory square footage at the property located at 8280 East 250 South Zionsville in the rural single family zoning district R1B, approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report and the staff recommendations, submitted finding of fact, substantial compliance with the submitted site plans.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you, Mrs. Postaway. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. The petition is approved. Best of luck. That concludes the petitions for this evening. There's one item which I'll bring up for perhaps a discussion with the board. And that is, there was a, Larry, I think you last meeting or maybe 2 meetings ago had asked about, it was almost like the Larry Jones Paper Reduction Act that the U.S. government did a few years ago, but asked about eliminating some of the paper for those who get hard copy. And I was not privy to all of that discussion, so I wasn't sure what you had asked about, but I shared with staff. I too had some concerns when we have a petition with 3 variance requests. We get much of that material 3 times, and do we need to get them 3 times? I'll ask staff to report or respond to that. That they have to me. But I want to make sure that if we have an interest in reducing some of the paperwork, as a board, let's kind of discuss that and suggest to staff in order to get that done.
Well, I was going to go back and look at the proposal we just had in front of us.
I think if I can just summarize what it is, you get the original petition, then you get a copy of what they had to send out to everybody, which is the same as the original petition. So you get the same plans twice, you get the same staff report twice, you get the.
Like if you had a special exception and a development standard.
Well, no, I mean, just really any submission, you get duplicate. You get,
application.
yeah, you get the staff report, you get the plans and all that, and then you get what was sent out, which is the same report, same plan, same everything.
The petitioner's material.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what Larry was describing.
Yeah. Yeah, and so is there a way to just truncate that for people that get it printed, just so you're printing half as much information?
I mean, like the current proposal here in front of us, you get to page 10, which has the variance findings of fact. And then I think just about everything after that is basically a duplicate, correct? Maybe the next section.
Each petition has to be entered or recorded, right? So that's why there's the duplication, and I understand that, but is there a way in our packet you can say, see section, instead of reproducing it?
So perhaps a consideration might be that the notice materials be held back. We keep them in our folders. Staff is responsible for making sure that the petition is properly noticed. And that would probably eliminate 4, 5, sometimes many pages. And if we could limit our discussion of what we would extract, rather than being picky and choosy about what the petitioner wants you to see. If we generally say the notice of public hearing, the affidavit, the mailings that so many people like to show you pictures of the envelopes, that I think would be less paperwork for you, a little bit more comfortable for staff. We still have it. We still can produce it at a meeting if it's needed, but it doesn't have to be in a petition.
So my question is, how many of us are now still getting hard copies?
I had asked for no hard copies last time, and I got them tonight, and that's fine, but I would prefer not to get them. I can totally see
So it becomes
electronically.
a little bit of a moot point if there's one person at this committee versus all of us having received all of that paper. So
That's entirely true.
and I don't know, what I would worry about is extracting something that then at some point petitioner says, hold on, you didn't submit all of.
Well, and I don't think, I think we'll always have it available in electronic. It's just, I think the conversation is, what do you want printed?
Yeah.
But it's always available, everything electronically to you all.
And am I the only one? Andy, you said you did not request paper.
Right.
Larry, I know you've typically been going with you're using your
Yeah.
computer.
I mean, that's,
Kathy, you're doing the same.
Digital.
Chris, have you moved to digital?
I'm digital.
So I'm the only one.
Oh,
There's two, Steve.
I'm fine. I'm fine with whatever you give me.
wait, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I apologize.
Well, I thought all along, why, now I'm looking through the same thing for the second time and the third time, and for the sake of saving some paper, I suppose, it's, I would prefer not to get it the second and third time, or duplicates, that I don't need to see a second time. If staff can, eliminate those, that would be fine with me. I still like the paper because I make notes on there. And it's a lot easier. And I haven't graduated to a laptop. I just have a tablet. So using a tablet here is not all that convenient.
I do have a question. Do you guys receive everything electronically, even if it's brought to you in paper form? When you take it, it's electronically scanned and put into your system.
The petitioner is required to send us digital and that hard copy that they also submit. And typically, we're only asking for a couple of copies. That has to be exactly what the digital is.
Okay.
and
So
do
it's,
we,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
It's required that a hard copy come with it,
We
required.
need to have that hard copy for public viewing. Unfortunately, there isn't a computer at the front desk, so if we have a resident that wants to come in and view the materials, having something in hard copy is important.
And I was almost going to go to say the same about the items of petitioner supplies when it comes to, on occasion, we're getting full sets of civil engineered drawings and, I mean,
We got.
yeah, I can go through them, but
Yeah.
we don't. I don't know. I don't. And and because with some of the larger development plans that come through, though, I don't mind getting the full binder of information they provide. But that's more plan commission than us. So for us, for BZA, I'm fine with not getting any paper. And if there was something that comes up that when I'm reviewing it at home, I can usually print that page out.
Right.
I'd be fine with that without getting any paper per se. I mean, you guys will still need your paper hard copies and all that kind of stuff, but once again, every night we dump off 20 pounds of paper that.
That works for us.
Well, and since we are given the option each time of selecting paper or electronic, let me say what I will to staff about myself and make sure that it would fit all of your needs as well in case you want paper. And that is, excuse me, that I would want paper, but don't need the replication of the same item in my packet as was filed or that represents the petition material for variance number 2 and number 3, et cetera. And if that makes sense from a staff point to eliminate that, I'm fine with that. As long as everybody else is fine with that, and if they request paper, that's what they will get as well. The rest of the board members agreeable to that if they elect a paper copy? Is that clear enough then in terms of what we would like to have?
We'll do our best to streamline it. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. I think the only other item of business is a mention, and that is that the engagement letter with the Taylor Minette Schneider and Clutter Law Firm is due. And I make that as a mention. It's not something that we have decided or need to. It does require a signature by myself. But just to let you know that we are renewing that engagement with the law firm that we have been using now for several years. And with that, is there anything else from anyone? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
We we have two moves in a second. Mr. Paquel, would you like to state a third?
Present.
All right, thank you all. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.